Greetings, Fire Lotus here with a couple book reviews. The first one, I actually think I've already done one on this, but I wanted to redo it because I am in the process of reading his second one. Backwoods Witchcraft, Conjure, and Folk Magic from Appalachia by Jake Richards. If you grew up anywhere in a southern state, or you have southern roots in your family, and you grew up listening to old wives' tales and old folklore and stuff like that, you need to get this book. This book is written amazingly. The way that I describe it is, imagine if you had a cousin or a family member in the Appalachians and you went to visit one, and you get there and like he's slowly walking you through, like, taking you up here, showing you the holla. That's basically how this book is written. There's so much vital information in this book that literally I carry it with me everywhere that I go. It's kind of like my handbook now. The second one also is amazing. It's very easy to keep up with. He has references. In general, this is also one of the fastest books that I've read. I read it in about 2 days. I wouldn't put it down. He actually goes over the reason they do this. He touches on the history of it. By the way, Appalachia is not a closed practice. It is open. That is one of the reasons he wrote this book, along with a lot of other authors who have been publishing books about Appalachian folk magic, due to the fact that it's dying out. A lot of the generations, the younger ones, are no longer carrying it on. So literally a 10 out of a 10 is one of the best books. I'm also loving his second book that he's created. So yeah, if you want to, or if you've ever been curious about conjure and folk magic, hands down, go get this book. There is an audio version as well. So yeah, go get that. The second one is Southern Cunning, Folkloric Witchcraft in the American South by Aaron Oborn. Hope I said his name right. This book right here, I love it. Especially if you live in Florida, you're going to love this. It's also very different than a lot of the other books that I've read. And when I mean different is he goes over, let's see some of the things he goes over. The inspiration and spirit in the American South, making crossroads, calling familiars, ghost in the land, the devil's wife, UPGs, basically personal, unverified personal experiences that you experience in your craft that set your foundation. And one of the number one things, he also touches on ancestors, but one of the number one things that I love that this book and how it's changed my craft is bioregalism. Basically, the specific study of animals around your property. I would encourage you to do it for about a full year. That way you get all the cycles. But the reason that's important to start incorporating into your practice is because if you ask whoever you work with for a sign and you see a red bird or a red jay fly up on you, well, if you have a nest of them on your property, that's not really a sign. But if you see animals acting out of behavior, or if you see a species that you normally have not seen on your property, that is a sign. That is what bioregalism teaches you. Not to mention, you also better understand your environment, and you also better understand your land itself, which will also incorporate and help you get more in touch with the land spirits, which is very crucial in my opinion when it comes to my craft. I don't know about yours. Now, the second one is going to be slightly controversial. I've never hid the fact that I do honey jars, hoodoo, not traditional hoodoo. No, I don't do that, but there are two variations of hoodoo. A lot of people do not agree with this. I'm sorry. From what I understand, there are. And the one that stems in the South, I do not believe it is a closed practice. But anyways, back to the book. This right here is Hoodoo, Honey, and Sugar Spells, Sweet Love Magic and the Conjure Tradition by Deacon Milliton. Now, it is a very short book, but the reason that I love this is because everything in this book is actually from hoodoo and conjure practitioners throughout the years. It also states, which luckily I had a friend send me a PDF of it, but it goes over the history of it. Really briefly, I wanted to actually read something in it as well. Hoodoo, also called conjure or root work, is an African American folk magic tradition born in the equivalents of the American slavery, where ancient African magic met and merged with Protestant Christianity, Native American herbal lore, and a dash of European customs. So, see, not close. Especially specifically the one that stems out of New Orleans, Creole Hoodoo. It has multiple other cultures that they've all come together to share their knowledge, but in this book, he teaches you how to use different types of sugar in your practice, how to use and make, properly use and make honey jars, how to use molasses, when to use molasses, when to use honey, when to use sweeteners, and in general, how to take care of them, and multiple other different ones. He also has recipes for milk baths, love spells, and it also gives you a glimpse into how hoodoo and conjure practitioners view herbs and their correspondences versus how somebody in a pagan origin or a pagan tradition views them. So very interesting. If you can, totally check it out. He also has another one that's specifically dedicated to love magic. But one of the main things that I loved in this is I also learned of a volume. I'm trying to actually find it where he talks about it. But there was a 7-volume. Here we go. 5-volume compilation called Hoodoo, Conjuration, Witchcraft, and Root Work. Harriet Militant Haint, I hope I said his name right, beginning in 1936 with a wax cylinder recording device, he captured more than 1,600 interviews with black conjure practitioners in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. And they do have a PDF format of that. So that blew my mind, but he also talks about a couple other more people and how this book came to be. Now the second one, if you partake in the devil's lettuce, if you know, you know, and as soon as I turn this around, you're definitely going to know. High Magic, A Guide to Cannabis and Ritual and Mysticisms by Philip H. Farber. I like it. It is very detailed. He goes over the history of different cultures and how they see this plant. Multiple other different, like, historical documents. He also breaks down the science behind the plant, how to technically incorporate it into your magic. The only thing that I would say it's kind of misadvertised is there's not really any spells. I believe there's one or two rituals, primarily based with like meditations and how to incorporate that. I mean, it's a great book and a very interesting book. It's not the book I thought it was going to be. But like he does go over invocations, banishings, meditation, energy healing, which is extremely important. Energy work and magic, enough people are not talking about it. Divination, scrying, chakra activation, toasting, praising, pathworks, consecration, charging, working with ancestors, making change in the world, and much more. Now, I do like the fact that he does involve ancestor work. That is a hot topic right now, a very controversial hot topic. And I'm not going to get into that in this video, and I know this was kind of short. I have a entire box of books that I'm also trying to currently read. I will shout out one book that I just recently got, and OMG, two books shout out. Crooked Path, Traditional Witchcraft. That is an amazing book. I'm still reading it, and I just recently received the New World Witchery book. It's literally like a workbook, like it's thick. If you're interested in American folk magic and American folklore, that's the book to get, hands down. But yeah, I did think this was interesting because we don't really have enough books out there involving cannabis and magic. By the way, YouTube, this is in no way, shape, or form encouraging the sale or illegal activities of cannabis. This is for educational purposes only, so please don't yank my video down. But, I mean, in general, it is a good book. I do believe that, I mean, it's even labeled Mind, Body, and Spirit and Magic Studies. That's kind of all it is. So please do not get this book thinking it is a spell book on how to incorporate cannabis fully into your practice. It is a way of how you can incorporate it in, but there's not like full-on spells and rituals and stuff like that. There are a few YouTubers who already have videos out on how to use and incorporate that into your practice. But in general, it's a great read. So, like, if you just want an interesting book involving cannabis and magic, definitely get it. Hands down, it's a good book. It's just not the book that I thought it was. So yeah, book review. I also, in my link tree that will be posted in the description, I also actually have a Amazon wish list of just books that I have in my practice. So like a book recommendation list. And I've constantly added to that. I still have a few that I still have to add. And most of those books, some of the newer books, they do, I believe, have audiobooks. Some of the older ones, I don't really think they do. Something to look into, though. You can also, in that link tree, you can also find my Instagrams, my Facebook, where I go live on there. The link may be broken. If the link is broken, Fire Lotus the Witch, you can find me on all platforms using that. And my second Instagram is Fire Lotus the Witch Podcast. For the people that did not know, I have been doing a podcast for the past 2 years now. The most recent interview that I did was an interview with a traditional witch or someone who practices traditional witchcraft. And the second one that I'm doing today, actually, is Bloody Mary from New Orleans. So definitely stay tuned for that and look out for that. You can find it on Applecast, Spotify, Anchor, and I believe most other platforms that you can listen to a podcast on. And then I have a couple other bigger things, one of them actually happening here on YouTube. So if you're not already, go subscribe to Lady Grave Dancer. I will be appearing next week on the 27th in her Spirit Talk. And then I will be interviewing her shortly after that. I have multiple other interviews set up or in the process of being set up with a couple more authors of some of the books that I just mentioned. So yeah, lots of things are happening. And if you do use Facebook, I go live on my Facebook Monday through Thursday, unless I have an interview. Normally starting around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later. They normally go about an hour to 2 hours. I've had a couple that went 3 hours. You've seen them before. I've posted them on here. So if you haven't, scroll back a little bit. They're labeled Facebook Lives. Basically, in that live, I talk about everything except for politics, basically. Primarily spiritual-based, witchcraft-based. And just a bunch of advice and tips that I do. I do have a TikTok, which that will also be in my link tree, Fire Lotus the Witch. I have a second one, Fire Lotus the Witch 2.0, where I'm only doing witchy tips and spells. That's it. My other one is more detailed things about like what's going on in the community or just other things and kind of breaking some of the false information that's on that app. So yeah, I also wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been subscribing to this. I know I've been really dormant lately on here. I'm going to change that. I finally got an upgrade in my phone so I can actually make great content. So yeah, until then, I hope you're all having a great day. And there should be another book review posted, I'm hoping, in the next 3 weeks, possibly. So yeah, just keep that. Make sure you've hit the notification, like, share, and make sure the notifications are turned on for my page. I am Fire Lotus, and I hope you are all having a great day.